Hello, back here with another album ranking today, and I thought we'd do the Beatles. I have an obsession with the Beatles for sure. Although it's been admittedly a little while since I've gone through an entire album of theirs, they were the first real band that I would say I got into heavily, and they're honestly what started my whole obsession with going through discographies and just broadening my musical horizon. And I'll always be thankful for them for those reasons. And I just think they are an excellent band, perhaps the greatest band of all time. That's not, a controversial opinion. I have framed picture of the Sgt. Pepper album cover there, so yeah. The obsession definitely runs deep. I've listened to these albums countless times, so even though it has been a while, my memory is as fresh as yesterday with all of the records. So let's just get down to it. One quick thing is, technically, Magical Mystery Tour wasn't initially an album of theirs, but nowadays I think most people consider it to be one of the records in their discography, so I'll include it on this list. So that means that there's going to be a total of 13 albums that we're going to be ranking here. And to be clear, this is from worst to best, starting off with the quote-unquote worst album, which is going to be number 13, and that's Yellow Submarine. This album is pretty much by default the worst album in the Beatles' discography. It's hardly a Beatles album to begin with. It is essentially half soundtrack, half original Beatles material. But even then, several tracks are borrowed from past albums like Revolver and Magical Mystery Tour. Even though, again, it's technically singles that were added on at the end of Magical Mystery Tour, but we'll get to that when I get to that album in the ranking. Overall, Yellow Submarine is an okay album. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think I listened really to the soundtrack portion of it in a long time. When I go to listen to the album, I usually just listen to, Hey Bulldog, maybe a few other tracks from it. Yeah, and Hey Bulldog is an amazing track, and All You Need Is Love, of course, great track. There's good stuff on it, but it's definitely their weakest output. But it should be noted that it was, hardly a project from them in the first place. So that's out of the way. I'm pretty sure that it is the lowest album on most people's lists, so I don't think we're in hot water yet, but who knows, we might be in soon. Number 12, though, I think this is another pretty common opinion. Number 12, I have Let It Be. If I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure I listened to the naked version of the album far more than I've listened to the original, quote-unquote original Phil Spector produced version. Amazing songs like Across the Universe and the title track, Two of Us. I love Two of Us. It's got several really great tracks, but it's also, since for this ranking, I'm just doing the original official albums. I'm not going to be discussing Let It Be Naked. We're just going to be, this is just the original Let It Be that I'm putting in this placement. And that version has several little snippets and bits like Maggie May and Dig It, and just these little things that I think while they can be charming, maybe to some, Beatles fans or listeners, to me, it's just kind of filler stuff on the album. And even the full-length tracks, there's some stuff that, like For You Blue, that I could honestly, like, I think could have been left off the album, and it's definitely got the signs of a rushed project, like we see in the the documentary. But overall, it's decent, but not one that I think I'll be revisiting a whole lot, especially the Phil Spector version, which just has, a lot of those little uninteresting filler bits. Number 11, I have With the Beatles. This one and the next one are these very, early, charming Beatles records with, it's pretty much half covers and half originals. And I think that this is, with the Beatles, I think that it is the slightly weaker of the first two albums that the Beatles produced. There's still some great songs on it, such as, Mr. Postman, even if that is a cover. And I don't know why they're slipping from my mind, but there are other good tracks on it. But yeah, it's just a good album. I'd say from here on out on this list are albums that I listen to more regularly, or at least I used to. The last two I hardly ever listened to, but this one on up, solid records. But yeah, just not too much interesting stuff here. And I just personally like some of the covers and some of the originals on the original album better. So, speaking of, number 10 is the original record by the Beatles, Please Please Me. Of course, the cover of Twist and Shout, which is, so famous that people think that it is an original track by them, which is crazy. And it's got other songs, too, that are great. I mean, the opening track, I Saw Her Standing There, as maybe problematic now as the original lyrics of it are. It's still a pretty catchy song. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, there's this charm and, like, magic that's captured in this that With the Beatles still has to an extent, but it feels definitely, that album feels a little bit repetitive. This has a certain freshness to it, obviously being the first, album by them, but yeah, I don't know. There's barely anything separating them, really. They're about the same for me, but I'm gonna go with the original here. Then, number 9, I have Beatles For Sale. This one was kind of a rushed record that they, from my understanding, recorded largely while they were on tour. And there's some good stuff on it, like the opening track, No Reply, one of my favorites. Like, not like top favorites, but, within probably the top, like, 50 for me, the Beatles tracks. And, I'm a loser, and even some of the covers, there's a lot of good stuff on it, but it's definitely, you can feel that it's rushed, covers like Kansas City, Hey Hey Hey, or whatever, like, just complete throwaways that are in there. It I think deserves more credit as an album than it usually gets. I think it's a good record. Like Roll Over Beethoven, I actually like their cover of that, but yeah, it's just good. Nothing really more to say about it. I like it. Number 8, I have A Hard Day's Night. This is their first record, which is composed of all original material. And what amazing original material on this album. For one, the title track, iconic with the opening note, of course. And then, Tell Me Why, Things We Said Today, and I Love Her. Classic songs, just too many classics on here, like, to put this any lower. Although this is not an album that I honestly reach for quite a lot, comparatively to some of the ones that we're going to be talking about next, it's a really solid record, and I just can't deny how good some of those classic tracks are. That's why it's number 8. Number 7, I have Help. This one I actually used to listen to a lot. I don't think it's quite as great as I had originally thought it was when I first listened to it, but still, obviously it has Yesterday on it, and then the title track, which is great and has this great emotion behind it. You're Gonna Lose That Girl. What other tracks? I should probably write this stuff down in later videos. It's fine. I'll perfect this art later. We are sort of running a little bit long here, so I'll try to keep this brief and go to the next one. Number 6, Revolver. I think this might be a sort of controversial placement. I think a lot of people will have this much higher. I think 6 is still pretty high, but I think this is a really good album, It is not a low placement for me. I think it's their first album that you can sort of call, like, experimental. I'm a fan of the opening track, Taxman. I think that's a great one. Even if some of the vocals on it are a little bit cheesy, the Batman parody sort of. And then Eleanor Rigby, one of their absolute best. What a genius lyric too. I Want to Tell You, a really underrated George track. Got to Get You Into My Life. Those horns, it's just iconic. And then of course the final track, Tomorrow Never Knows. And those are just, some of the great stuff on here. We've also, of course, got Good Day Sunshine and Yellow Submarine, which, isn't really that great of a track in my opinion, but it still got its charm, and it feels appropriate in a weird way on the album. So yeah, that's why Revolver is number 6 for me. Really solid album. Now we're entering the top 5 Beatles albums for me. Number 5, I'm having Magical Mystery Tour. I don't think this is an album that breaks the top 5 for a lot of people, which I do not know why. This album is fantastic on every regard. It's assisted by the stellar singles in the latter half of the record, with Penny Lane and Baby You're a Rich Man, so on. Strawberry Fields, of course. But even in the original, like the first half of the record that was essentially what the original EP consisted of. I mean, I'm the Walrus. Blue Jay Way, I think, is a really, really underrated George track. Your Mother Should Know. This sort of weird, like, it's just a simple, like, piano sort of song, but combined with the, like, vocals and just the strange harmonies in it, they really give off a consistent psychedelic vibe that runs throughout the rest of the record. And some people even say that this is the most psychedelic the Beatles ever went. I still feel like Sgt. Pepper's tops it, but just some amazing tracks on here. And yeah, just underrated overall in their discography. I mean, as if anything by the Beatles could be underrated, but still, just what a great album. And then number 4, I have Rubber Soul. Rubber Soul, I think, is the album that everybody acknowledges is great, but they sort of kind of forget as they, you know, get into the later Beatles stuff just how amazing this album is. Yes, the final track does leave kind of like a weird, like, it kind of leaves off on a weird note with, what is it? Some like Run or whatever. Some sort of creepy John Lennon track. But seriously, Norwegian Wood, Michelle, the opening track, Drive My Car. In my life, one of the Beatles, probably like top 10 Beatles song for me, probably. Just there's a good blend of sort of that classic Beatles like charm and some newer, slightly like hinting at psychedelic like stuff and so in there, and just it's got this weirder appeal but still has that sort of charm from their like original stuff. And I think it's classic. It's Rubber Soul, you know. Number 3 is the top 3, and top 3 for Beatles means, you know, like in the greatest albums of all time, like outside just the Beatles, like just albums in general, you know. Number 3 for me is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I think in recent years this album has sort of become less popular overall out of the Beatles' most well-regarded records, which I do not get at all. Like, I'm pretty sure it used to be like number 1 on one of the Rolling Stones like top album lists. You know, who cares about the Rolling Stones, you know, magazine in general? But it's just wild to me how people have sort of over time grown out of this record, because there's so much that I think can be attributed to what they did here on this record. First of all, the sort of conceptual idea of it, that they're like playing this pretend band, and like I've said before, like this album just goes full, you know, psychedelic. You know, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, you know, LSD, even Mr. Kite, which I don't think a lot of people like. I actually like how like weird and wacky that song is. Then the masterpiece that is A Day in the Life, in my opinion, the Beatles' best song, probably. It's insane how great this record is. I mean, with a little help from my friends, even the opening track and its reprise, I don't even know how to describe how good this album is. It's just something you gotta listen to. It's probably as weird as a Beatles album could be, besides the next one, which is definitely weirder. And the way that the tracks flow into one another, and I think this is the album that definitely feels the most like a project. Like, this is not just like a band playing songs that are individually listened to. Like, this is a like full artistic statement, and it's a masterful one, just perfect. I think all 3 of these top 3 albums are perfect. I seriously don't think there's a single criticism with them, which might be controversial given my number 2 placement, the Beatles' White Album. This album is, some might say, bloated. It is just stacked with track upon track upon track. I believe like 30 songs on this record, and every song is great. Even Revolution 9, or Revolution 9. Sorry about the noise. I think a lot of people dislike that track because of, I mean, first of all, how long it is, and Yoko Ono's contribution to it, of course, too. But I like it in some weird way, and all the other tracks on here. I mean, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, having Eric Clapton on that, and then so many other great things on here. And it's just this album full of like little treasures and like just these amazing songs, and it's so diverse, and something this big and like expansive shouldn't work, uh especially in like the format that it's in, but it absolutely does in my opinion. Good morning. I did not have time to finish the ranking the other day, so I woke up early today to finish the video, and just have one left. Number one for my Beatles ranking is without a doubt Abbey Road. Abbey Road, I think, succeeds on all fronts and more. From the opening track, Come Together, to the beautiful George Harrison song, Something, and then the mystifying, bluesy, in a way like haunting sort of near the end, especially I Want You, She's So Heavy. And then you also have tracks like Octopus Garden, which was a Ringo Starr track, and is his most beloved to this day, probably. And it actually, as a song, I think is just as good as several other tracks on the album, which is, you know, not very typical for a Ringo song. But this album is, as I said, just amazing on every front. And then on side 2 of the album, you have Here Comes the Sun, of course, which, you know, has been played to death, but I love it. And the Abbey Road medley, which, if it could be considered a singular song, which it isn't technically on the track list, but if it were a singular song, it would possibly even beat out A Day in the Life as my favorite Beatles song. I just love everything about it. You Never Give Me Your Money, this like soft piano opener, and then the different dynamic and melody changes throughout, and it's only like a 4-minute track, and you're already given this sort of like little slice of what this whole medley is going to be, you know. And yeah, I just love Abbey Road. And even though it wasn't necessarily intended to be the conclusion of the band, I think it works. I mean, especially with a song like The End at the very end of the track list, I think it is sort of a beautiful ending to the band's career. Yes, Let It Be did come afterwards, but it was, you know, recorded beforehand, so Abbey Road was really their final triumph, and what a beautiful, perfect record that is probably within my top 10 favorite albums of all time to this day. And yes, I've heard it many, many times over the years, but frankly, in a way, it just never gets old, and I love it, as I do all the Beatles albums in a way, even Yellow Submarine. Yeah, that's it. I love the Beatles, and I'll see you all in the next video when I rank another artist's discography.